How are you, Craig?
Good, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Good. So we'll just kick off. You and I have been discussing this, haven't we, over the last couple of days? The natural tendency, I think, in times like these where there's obviously been a lot of disruption, a lot of upheaval, a lot of things that people have to now adapt to, new situations, new surroundings. The natural tendency, I think, is to, particularly people who have got businesses where they sell services to others and things like that. And tendency is, once you've done all your trying to adapt your business model to suit these new situations we find ourselves in, is that we want to maybe just go in and immediately start to share more stuff with people, engage people across the different platforms that we normally do, Facebook and LinkedIn, etc., Instagram. But we were reflecting that maybe what's needed at this sort of transitional phase, where sort of government recommendations have started to come out a bit more kind of hard and fast in terms of locking down and sort of minimising our the time that we spend outside the house, is that we need space. We need space to open up for ourselves. We need to give ourselves space, and we need to give others space as well, so we don't, start to kind of over communicate with people. And I think what we've both noticed, haven't we, is that there's been a lot of traffic on all the platforms about loads of different topics, but a high percentage of it to do with the virus and all the associated things, and business related matters, and also some great stuff with, a lot of people are offering a lot of support for one another, which is also superb and very needed, I think, right now. But also, maybe we don't need to overdo the kind of support and the advice for people, because again, there's a tendency for people to want to keep consuming information, but maybe this is a time for not consuming too much information and taking a bit of time just to have space and gather our own thoughts, deal with our own situations at home in terms of what we need to do, adapt to that, and then maybe we're ready to kind of look out again from that place once we feel a little bit more kind of stable. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a stressful time for everybody. It's quite a traumatic time for us all, and our tendency is to go into reactive mode, isn't it? And reactive mode is like, I've got to be doing something here. I've got to be proactive. I'm going to make the most out of this. I'm going to be positive, and that's all great. We need to keep that kind of mindset, but we also need to make sure that we're not just burning ourselves out in the first couple of weeks here.
Mm.
I think you're right that we need space to emerge. It's like, whoa, even a month ago, very few of us were really seeing this coming to this point. So for your life just to be flipped upside down like this, and if kids are off school or you're working from home and whatever is going on, everyone's got to make, a lot of adaptations at home. So just to throw ourselves into all these courses and study and get the kids on the perfect timetable and everything, it just feels like this is something that's going to overwhelm us and burn us out. And this is definitely a time to stop, reflect, give ourselves space. And I think one of the big things was something as big as this, that's so important as well. Doesn't it just make us realize that we don't have to all be perfect? We're going to have the perfect timetable and the perfect day and be perfect at our job. Just now, it's like, let's just see if we can get through this.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's look at that as an approach first.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a tendency for us just to dive straight into things, try and create lots of structure, and particularly with kids, I think that's maybe not. We maybe don't need to be quite as tight with that. I think that taking the time to really connect as a family in ways that maybe people haven't had the opportunity to do before, because everybody's been running about quite fast from one thing to the next, and getting kids to nursery, getting kids to school, going and going and getting into work and running back and trying to fit in our own little, leisure time in between all that sort of stuff. It's just slow it down and actually be okay just not having as much structure and deadlines, and and just allow a bit more kind of fluidity to emerge, because we can start to see and notice more things that we were passing us by before that, if we just allow ourselves just to be okay and open with not having to be our best, or not having to be the best parent or the best this or that or the other. Just allow the space to emerge, because once people get into their flow of it, just enjoy the initial stages and maybe having a bit more time together if we can. I know that relationships can sometimes be, when we're under the same roof for more hours in the day, and it can sometimes take a bit of adjusting to. But try and go into that with curiosity and see what we might learn from it. How can we adapt? How can we find out more about one another? How can we maybe recognize one another's needs a bit more, including the children, including ourselves as parents potentially, and see how we can collectively help one another to get those needs met. And when needs are being met consistently, we tend to be a bit more on top of our game, don't we? And that's the same for kids as well. When they feel they're getting their emotional needs met, then they tend to be firing on all cylinders as well. So it's just trying to explore those things over this time. And then when we get into a bit more of a kind of steady pattern with things, then maybe people are starting to look outward and see, okay, what could I learn during this time moving forward that could be really beneficial for me? What skills do I need to get better on? What skills do I need to develop in order to help me through this period? And there will be lots of great opportunities out there for people to tap into those kind of things. And we're obviously trying to support people with insight and useful content in our free Mind Gym community on Facebook, and we're going to continue to grow that. But we will obviously, once the time is right, also have opportunities for people to look at some other stuff that may be useful for them longer term in terms of adapting, developing the skills that I was touching on earlier.
Yeah, and I think when we were doing our coaching call last week, Gary, with the group around stress and anxiety, and you said a really interesting thing to someone, was about think about yourself on the other side of this, and how this could really be a stronger, more resilient you at the other side of this. So for us just to jump straight into, I mean, I was about to do the other night that I was about to sign up for Ayurvedic courses and this and that. Whoa, let's just stop for a moment. Let's give some space, give some wind down, because everyone was at that point anyway, where it was getting to the end of winter, we're looking for the Easter holidays and stuff to come. We're all getting ready for a wind down, so let's take it early. Let's wind ourselves right down, give that a wee bit of space, have a bit of structure in your day, of course, but have space in between, some of the structure, and have put some breaks in the timetable. And then really reflect on, what do I need going forward? Me as an individual, okay, we obviously have to take the current situation, how things are changing with your business or family or whatever, home life, whatever it is, that might throw a few new things up. You as an individual, what do you need as a person to develop? And that can maybe be the one little thing to focus on, rather than the scattergun approach of doing about everything and just trying to distract ourselves. So it's for how much we want to distract ourselves away from it. It's not a time to distract ourselves. It's a time to choose where to put our focus. Yeah. It's classic mindfulness here, isn't it? Now I can distract myself with all that noise that's on Facebook and LinkedIn and all the scare and all the worry on the news, or I can go, here's a time I'm going to focus on this. Here's a time I'm going to focus on that. Here's a time I'm going to really, timetable in something that's quite joyful into my day. Here's when I'm going to connect with this person. So we can have a structure and a timetable, but a very mindful and considerate one of knowing where to focus our mind. Yeah. So it's not a time for distraction. It's a time for clarity and focus. And we only get that when we come into a rested state and wind ourselves down a bit, not in a reactive state.
Yeah, spot on. Absolutely spot on. And this is where mindfulness and things like that will come into their own for people. But there's one thing is for sure, that once we get over this transitional period and things start to settle a little bit into a pattern, and we are looking ahead to how we would like to emerge out of this period as a person, then as we've found in our own journey, the commitment to a path of becoming more mindful and integrating that into our days, there are really no downsides to it, and only positives in terms of how we develop as a human being, and how then we can support other people, how we can be in situations that maybe before would have got us anxious, would have got us stressed. We don't have that same reactive approach, and we're able just to kind of sail through these things with a bit more grace, and rather than getting all kind of overwhelmed by it, or reacting to it. So it's something that that will emerge in its own time for most people, I'm sure. But I think that's basically all we wanted to cover in this short video, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, as we said, we are going to have a larger conversation, podcast type conversation about this over the next week or so. We'll put that up for everyone. But yeah, at the moment we're staying active on the Mind Gym, because our Mind Gym community on Facebook, because we're just dropping in different practices, interviews, talks, just something as well that can help lift the spirits of people, as well as just little reminders of how to just stay present and how to just be with what's going on at the moment, how to hold ourselves quite steadily throughout this point. So, and we understand that we're not saying don't go to any of these things, but maybe just don't jump into doing courses and trying to, take over the world at this point. Just stop for a moment, and then things like the Mind Gym communities, they're just for people to dip in and out of when they want. So we'll put more up there, maybe even wee mini kind of 5-day courses or whatever, just little tasks that people can do, interviews, practices. We'll do that kind of thing, and then we'll have a larger chat about this as well.
Yeah, good. So the final little summary takeaways are: do the things that you do need to do, the practical things you need to do to get you feeling a little bit more stable with your new surroundings and situation you find yourself in. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to have to do and be, great at everything right away, whether it's parenting, whether, homeschooling, whether it's whatever it is. Allow space to emerge at this time. This is where we need space. Mother Earth needed space and time to restore ourselves and recover. We need it as well. So give space. And then once things start to maybe become a little bit more settled, look ahead into the future and say, what things do I need to maybe invest in that might really get me coming out the other side in a much stronger place. Okay.
Amen.
Magic. Okay, Craig. Thank you. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.